I didn't know anything about Sylvia Rivera. And this year, I had the honor of design and co-facilitate the Women in Leadership Retreat here at HRC in January 2009. I sent my design to the reviewers, did a timeline with biographies, and she sent me an email back and said, Eva, did you notice you have not included a transgender woman? Wow, wow, what a huge blind spot that is, you know? You think you are inclusive, you think you embrace everybody, and here you are missing a huge part of our community. So that's part of the history. So yo le pregunto, so I want to read you a little bio that we put for Sylvia Rivera. Sylvia Rivera was born on July 2, 1951, of Puerto Rican descent. She started living in the streets by age 10. Like many trans women, Sylvia faced arrest and brutality by the police. She helped spark the gay liberation movement by throwing one of the first bottles at the Stonewall riots. Here we have a Latina transgender being the leader of the Stonewall riots, and here we are, 2009. How many of us knew about Sylvia Rivera? You see, so I think we have to honor her. Estoy diciendo, ¿cuánta gente la conocíamos? Despite being at the forefront of the movement, Sylvia was often mistreated and excluded by gay and lesbian leaders. So, but she continued, like you said, to fight back. She really fought back. So in 1955, she tried to commit suicide. After surviving these attempts, she renewed her activism and highlighted the role of the transgender community as pioneers of the Stonewall riots. And she died of liver cancer in 2002. Ella vivió una vida de activismo. Ella murió en el año 2002 de cáncer. Lo que yo quiero, what I would like, when you ask me about the progress that we have made, is to think about 3 principles. We have to think about love. How do we love each other? How do we care about each other? How are we responsible for each other? If we don't respect each other, then who's going to do it? La otra es inclusion. You know, how are we inclusive of everybody? What are our blind spots? Último es the courage, you know, what kind of courage do we have? El valor que tenemos para echar para adelante, step up to the plate, like Sylvia did, to really create the movement. We have made progress, yes we have. I'm sure Ivan and Lázaro can talk about that, and there is a lot of room to grow. So I just wanted to honor Sylvia Rivera, because I felt like we really have not honored all the work that she's done and all the doors she opened for us to be here today, proud and beautiful.
Thank you.
That we're there at Stonewall, not only Sylvia, obviously, you know, we're honoring her, and she had been left behind for so many years. But I feel that I wish I were, like George Sotomayor, paraphrasing her, I wish I were half the man or half the woman. I wish I were half the man or half the woman of all the people that were there fighting 40 years ago at Stonewall. And certainly I wish I were half the woman that Sylvia Rivera was that night 40 years ago facing the police. And that's what we honor today. I can say many things. I'm going to stay away, you know, from a lot of history. I do, you know, we were teasing about the Googling. Yes, Googling is okay. Pues vamos a mirar en el Google o en el ask.com o en el yahoo.com and put Sylvia Rivera and put Stonewall. Hey, come on. We find a lot of things in Google and a lot of things in ask.com. I think we can find a little bit of history. It's okay. We can check it out and look at the pictures, and you can get to see how Sylvia is. First of all, we can stay healthy. Simple, but not that simple. By staying healthy, we stay in the fight. By staying in the fight, we push, and we get closer to where we need to be. If we're not healthy, it's going to be difficult. And healthy is not, as important as it is, HIV, it's not about that alone. Hey, we can die of HIV, but we can die of cardiovascular disease, we can die of diabetes, we can die of a lot of things, that mental diseases. So I ask you to stay healthy, to check, to go to the doctor. If you don't have a doctor, come on. There is no excuse if you live in Washington, D.C., because we have the D.C. Alliance. And basically, regardless of your status, migratory status, or whatever status, you will get access to health care. So check your blood work. You should know. Yeah, that's okay to know the CD4s, but you should know the glucose levels too. 90, 100, 120, we like it sweet. I mean, if we're Puerto Rican, Mario, we like it really sweet. 160, 80. No? You know, LDL, HDL, what is the happy cholesterol and the bad cholesterol? All that. So things like that. Stay healthy. Second, become a volunteer. Even for a couple of hours a month, it can be, but it doesn't have to be a gay organization. Do it. It gives us visibility, it gives us respect and gratefulness. Register and vote. Both of them. Don't only register, but also vote. Join an LGBT advocacy group. It can be Human Rights Campaign. It can be the LGTL, GLA. I commend Rick for this Igualdad del Matrimonio in Spanish that you have. That is GLA is doing great work. Help someone, anyone. Help someone get ADA. Help someone get assisted housing. Push us in the government to do that. And finally, try to show some empathy to someone in the elderly community, LGBT elderly community, or someone young. Mentor someone. Take someone to the doctor one day, and the day that you take them to the doctor, take them to Five Guys, take them to Chipotle on the way back. It's okay. Mentor someone that is young, because you know what? The younger ones are the ones that ultimately will take the fight where we haven't been able to take it. And in the process, yeah, take the young one to Five Guys, because one day you might be the old one being taken by the young one to Five Guys or Chipotle.
The story of Sylvia is more complicated than many people believe. There's a simple story, but the more difficult story is you dealt with someone who was thrown out of the house at the age of 10, became a child prostitute in Times Square, became a drug addict, used heroin and crack cocaine. Her life went into the pits. She met a guy and had an affair and worked in food service for about 9 years and then fell back into drug use and finally got off of the drugs and went into alcohol and became what you would call a functioning alcoholic. That was the point that I met her. She was living in a homeless encampment down, they called it Gay Pier. It was a homeless encampment at the end of, not where Christopher Street is, a little bit north of there, and I went and did a documentary about it. So people, they talk about the Stonewall Bar. It's always amusing to me because the Stonewall Bar was considered very disreputable. For one reason, it was a place where you had a lot of finger-snapping Latino queens, Spanish queens they called them in my day, you know, and any middle class, it was run by the mob, it had no liquor license, it was an illegal club, and so respectable middle class white people wouldn't even walk dead in the sun was the kind of place I went because I tended to like finger-snapping Spanish. The story that's most important about Sylvia, and I really think that, especially as young people, especially transgender young people, have a very difficult time in life. And we can make mistakes, but Sylvia's story is really a story of redemption. It's a story of someone who started out, her mother committed suicide and tried to kill Sylvia when she committed suicide at the age of 3 or something because she thought she would have a rough life. And she did. The grandmother kicked her out of the house for being gay and feminine at the age of 8 or 10. And then she went through all this and became a drug addict and still got active in gay causes, started working at the MCC church running a homeless kitchen, giving food to the homeless because she herself had prostituted and been on the streets and been hungry and been homeless. And then finally she actually met Julia Murray and they had a relationship. And she quit drinking completely. So she finally had a job that was paying decent money, running a homeless kitchen, feeding homeless people, and unfortunately, just when her life was finally coming together, her background, because she didn't take care of her health, because of the abuse, the drug abuse and the alcohol abuse, she died of liver cancer. But I think we should always think of Sylvia, not in terms of this glowing heroine in the sky, but in terms of a person who saw their life in the pits, really in the gutter, and somehow managed to claw and fight her way back out. So it's a real story of redemption, and I know all of you out there have friends that are going through these kind of struggles. So I would just say, remember, there's always hope that people can turn their lives around, you can have a better life, and just make sure that you keep yourself healthy in the process.
Yes.